Hey everyone, the Dark Knaik is here. During a rave party in the Moroccan desert, Louis and his son Esteban search for his missing daughter. A group of ravers suggests that she might appear at the next party. So Louis follows them, and the challenging routes make their journey extremely difficult. Many viewers may find themselves confused by the narrative of the Spanish road drama Sirât. The film unfolds as an almost 2-hour journey toward nowhere. The film begins with almost 20 minutes of a rave party in a desert area where a father has already exhausted his search for a missing daughter. What initially feels like a documentary slowly turns into an adventure film, and then the audience may get some Mad Max vibes, but ends up with Nomadland slow burn. The entire film revolves around the attempt to reach the next rave party, but the consequences of that journey are deeply painful. So what was the message of Sirât? Was this really a boring film? Did we miss something? I believe that once the audience begins to recognize the invisible lines, the filmmaker wants them to read between the scenes. The film reveals itself as far more intelligent than it initially appears. What was Sirât really about? The answer was just right there before the film even began. The 3 opening lines in Spanish form the philosophical backbone of the entire narrative. When I translate, it says, "There is a bridge called Sirât that connects hell and paradise. Those who cross it are warned that its passage is narrower than a strand of hair, sharper than a sword." And this is exactly what happened in the film. From one rave party to the other, that journey was Sirât. The characters traveled and attempted to cross it. They faced tragedies and episodic jeopardies throughout their journey. Many couldn't cross the bridge. Only a few were able to. Director Óliver Laxe appears to draw influence from Islamic theology, which is why his latest film Sirât is rooted in the concept of as-sirat. The opening lines describe a bridge that connects hell and paradise, a passage that every soul must cross. To my knowledge, this bridge is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran. If I'm mistaken, then guide me in the comments section. However, as-sirat is referenced in Sahih al-Bukhari. I was unable to find myself a specific hadith attributed directly to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but I find as-sirat in the glossary section that matches those texts. It is portrayed as both a bridge and a path that all people come across on the day of judgment, described as sharper than a sword and thinner than a strand of hair. Therefore, Laxe was consciously engaging with this theological imagery rather than using the name symbolically or at random. If the opening description of Sirât is still not enough to grasp how deeply rooted this Spanish film is in Islamic philosophy, then director Óliver Laxe reinforces the idea with another striking reference midway through the film. When the ravers run out of petrol and go searching for help, one of them, Steph, walks into a small shack. There is no one inside except for a television broadcasting a live transmission from the Holy Mosque in Mecca. The recitation of the final 3 verses of Surah Maryum chapter 19 is heard, followed by the closing verses of Surah As-Saffat chapter 37. Why were these specific verses chosen for this moment? While the literal meanings of the verses may not match the story as directly as the concept of Sirât itself, but metaphorically, the god is remembered as a sign for help after all the troubles. God emerges as a silent plea for guidance and relief. It becomes a sign of seeking help when all worldly paths appear to have failed. In my opinion, spoiler alert, the most powerful scene in Sirât unfolds during a sudden moment of panic on the edge of a mountain. As the ravers struggle to lift one of the cars stuck in a pothole, disaster strikes without warning. Fatally forgotten without the handbrake engaged, Louis' car begins to slide down the slope behind them. Within seconds, it plunges into the abyss, resulting in a crushing death of his young son Esteban and their dog. The dramatizing of this moment feels brutally authentic. The realism of the shot is so overwhelming that most viewers are likely to freeze in shock as the car disappears. What follows is an exceptional performance by Sergi López. His emotional breakdown captures the agony of a father. There was nothing he could have done to stop that car from crushing. Director Óliver Laxe cast real-life ravers to play the raver characters in Sirât. And I believe it was a smart and deliberate choice. While the absence of trained actors inevitably limits the range and dramatic testing of those roles, what Laxe needed were people who could naturally inhabit the state of trance, disorientation, and wandering, something that cannot always be convincingly performed. A professional actor could have certainly delivered a technically stronger performance, but authenticity was more crucial than virtuosity here. Seeing the real Ravers as real Ravers lends the film a raw credibility. Their presence authenticates the anatomy of free-spirited liberty and communal generosity that defines this subculture. They are not portrayed as troublemakers or rebels with intent. Rather, they are seekers of escape, people drifting from one place to another, listening, dancing, smoking, and dissolving into movement as a way of surviving the world. Sirât is driven by Kangdon Gray's hard-edged electronic score and visually elevated by Morocco's striking cinematography. The film will resonate most with viewers who were a part of a risky adventure that experienced emotional and physical suffering and unexpected acts of kindness from strangers encountered along the way. That sense of shared endurance and fleeting human connection lies at the heart of Sirât. Ultimately, Sirât is a road film that romanticizes escapism while simultaneously questioning it. It asks how far one can run from pain, and whether solace is truly found at the destination or only in the act of moving forward. I'm Knaik.